All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Brian Lips, and I work for the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center at NC State University. Among the many different projects the center works on, probably our most well-known project is DESIRE, the database of state incentives for renewables and efficiency. And in addition to maintaining DESIRE, my colleagues and I also author 2 quarterly publications related to policy, the 50 States of Solar and 50 States of Grid Modernization. But I'm speaking today about one of our newest policy projects, Community Solar for the Southeast. If you would like to remain involved in the project after this webinar, please reach out to us at communitysolar@ncsu.edu and visit our website, www.ncleantech.ncsu.edu/community-solar. So the Community Solar for the Southeast project is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy through the Sunshot Initiative and was awarded under the State Energy Strategies solicitation. It's a 3-year project, and the ultimate goal is for us to provide technical assistance to co-ops and munis throughout the Southeast who are interested in developing community solar programs. Year 1 of the project, which we are in right now, is focused on developing the resources that we'll use to provide technical assistance in years 2 and 3. A key deliverable to come out of this work in year 1 will be a guidebook to designing and implementing community solar projects in the Southeast. So keep an eye out for that towards the end of the year or early next year. And as anyone who has researched community solar has probably seen, there are plenty of existing information resources out there which answer many of the questions someone might have about community solar. So we don't want our publication to be redundant and cover all the same topics that have already been covered exhaustively by others. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Instead, we want our publication to be additive, to explore challenges that are perhaps unique to the Southeast and to co-ops and munis in particular, and to identify and resolve any remaining information gaps that are not currently covered in the existing body of research. So this webinar today is our first step in that direction. First, we'll discuss some of the existing literature on community solar, and then we'll hear some case studies from a few community solar projects currently in operation or in development in the Southeast. Then after this webinar, we'll be sending all of you a questionnaire that we hope you can find a few minutes to complete. We're hoping to gauge everyone's familiarity with different aspects of community solar with an eye towards finding any knowledge gaps that we could help fill with our coming publication. So for our agenda, I'll talk a little bit about our literature review and some of the key resources that we've found. Then we'll move on to the case studies, starting with Greg Brooks from Walton EMC, followed by John Jacob of Blue Ridge Energy, then finally Isaac Panzarella, who works for my organization, but has been helping the Fayetteville Public Works Commission, Muni in North Carolina, to develop a pilot community solar project coupled with energy storage. And then I'll discuss some of our upcoming activities on this project and fill you in on how you can participate if you would like to. If you have any questions during this webinar, you can submit them by typing a question in the chat box. We'll try our best to answer all the questions at the end of the webinar after all the speakers have completed. But if we don't have time during the webinar, we'll send you a response via email after the webinar as quickly as we can. So our team scoured the internet and found more than 30 publications and resources dedicated to community solar. We summarized and categorized all these resources in a kind of literature review document, which you can find on our website. Some of these publications, some of them address just one specific aspect of community solar, like how to involve low-income customers, or perhaps how to find financing for a project, or maybe considerations to make in relation to federal securities regulations, while other publications take a more holistic approach, trying to be a one-stop shop for all questions related to community solar. Two of the resources that stood out to us as being the most comprehensive are NRECA's Community Solar Playbook and the Smart Electric Power Alliances, that's SEPA, and their Utility Community Solar Handbook. NRECA's playbook is broken into 5 modules. Module 1 covers executive management, governance, and regulatory considerations. Module 2 looks at marketing and communications. And Module 3 deals with IT to support program administration. Think billing and accounting. Module 4 covers business, finance, and program administration. And Module 5 examines the technical side of things, like PV management, project management, PV system engineering, and operations. So a very comprehensive resource. SEPA's Utility Community Solar Handbook also covers a wide breadth of topics, though maybe not as deeply as NRECA's playbook. SEPA, however, also has several other publications and resources on their website related to community solar, including a report that goes into greater detail regarding program design models. They have a report that analyzes the results of a consumer survey they conducted on to see what the utility customer wants out of community solar. And they've also published a few case studies, and they oversee an active community solar working group for SEPA members. So a lot of great resources there. Again, you can find links to these and many other resources on our project website, nccleantech.ncsu.edu/community-solar. And so with that, I'll turn it over now to our speakers. First, Greg Brooks of Walton EMC.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day and a good week. I'm very happy to be able to talk to you this afternoon about our solar program and some of the success that we've had and things that we've learned. So there we go. I think that's got it. I think you can see my screen now. But as you can see, the tagline that we came up with for our program was Solar Made Easy. And that was one of our aims, was to make participating in solar energy production easy for our members and to reach those members who might not be able to participate in solar production because of location challenges or restrictive covenants or renters. So we wanted to make this available to a wide berth of our members with an easy process. I've been here 30 years, and I can't remember a program that's really been more enthusiastically received amongst our membership too, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Just quickly, some demographics of our co-op. We're sandwiched between Atlanta and Athens. We serve many of the Atlanta suburbs. We also serve areas adjacent to Athens, and as you know, that's a college town. So we're mostly a suburban co-op. There are some rural areas still, but the majority of our co-op I would classify as a suburban area. We serve about 127,000 accounts right now, and we are very heavily residential at 93% of our accounts being that. We don't call our program community solar, we call it cooperative solar. And the reasoning behind that is when we first started looking at the program and when we really got into it and was deciding what our model was going to look like, it was going to be a little bit different than a typical community solar program. And one thing that we wanted to convey was that this program was not going to require a large upfront financial commitment. And some community solar programs, as you know, require a buy-in, maybe a pretty large sum. Ours was not going to be like that. It was going to be very affordable. That's one of our mandates I'll talk about in a little bit. So that's why we decided to change the name to cooperative solar, just to make sure that people saw that designation or saw that difference in our program and a typical community solar program. Here are some reasons I think why you might want to look at a solar program for your utility. We learned that it's what our members and customers want. there was a good demand and a lot of interest for the program, and I think you might find that similar at your co-op or muni. It adds diversity to your portfolio. Don't have to talk to the North Carolina folks about that. Y'all are way ahead of us in portfolio standards. We still don't have those in Georgia yet, but our management was looking down the road to when that might occur, so we wanted to be ready. It improves customer satisfaction. Not only does it improve customer satisfaction among the people who participate in the program, it improves customer satisfaction among people who don't choose to participate in the program. So in saying that, it does improve your utility's image in the community and amongst your members. It lets you be shown as a forward-thinking utility that has the interest of its members or customers at heart. And of course, it's good for the environment, as we all know. So our CEO established a few mandates for us when we started looking at the program and trying to design it. And his probably main mandate is that price is not going to be a barrier to participation. And the example he used is that my daughter, just a few years ago, she was in college. Well, I want to be priced where even she, in college and paying tuition and all the other expenses, where I want it priced where even she could participate in it. So we don't want price to be, we don't want price to hold anybody back from participating in our program. He said, I want this to be a simple, easy process. I don't want it to be complicated, long, and drawn out. It needs to be very easy to understand. I also want the bills to be easy to understand, where people can take a look at their bill and see very readily what their solar production is doing and how it's benefiting them. The program needs to be self-supporting. We don't want non-participants to be paying for any of the solar facilities, and I don't want it to have a contract. If people want to come in and out of the program, there's no penalty for that. They can come out whenever they get ready. So this is how we came up with the sign-up procedures and the program, and I'll just tell you a little bit about how we did things and how it works. We only allow phone sign-ups, and that's because we want our members to completely understand the program and make sure the program is right for them. We did not roll this out as a money-saving program, and if that was the only motivation for a member to sign up, we wanted to make sure that they understood that, and we didn't want them to be disappointed when they got their first bill and they didn't save money because of the program. So we wanted to make sure they understood that. We wanted to make sure they understood how the program worked. So that's why we still only allow phone sign-ups. Under our program, a member can sign up for up to 2 blocks with no intervention. They call the call center. The call center rep can sign them up. If they want more than 2 blocks, though, they can get them. What the call center rep does is escalate that up to another staff member. That person actually pulls up the member's account, reviews their use, and what we're trying to avoid here is them signing up for more solar than they actually use on a total basis. We don't want them oversubscribing. But as long as they're not oversubscribing, they can buy as many blocks as they'd like. And our blocks are $25 per month, no contract, as I said earlier. Right now, that's working out at about 1.8 kW in solar capacity. So here's what our bills look like, and here's how you can take a look at how we bill it. And basically, what we do is they pay the $25 for their solar block. That amount of energy, which this month, in our example, happens to be 277 kilowatt hours. So their solar block energy is subtracted from their total energy that month. So they're billed for the rest, in this case, 401 kilowatt hours at the normal retail rate. So we started with our first project, and fortunately, some land became available right adjacent to our headquarters, which was very, very handy. We could just go out there really easily, and with our first project, and we were still learning. It was good to have it so close. So the first project was 1 megawatt. That occupies about 6 acres worth of panels. I was very excited when I first heard that they bought this parcel of land, because as you can see up in the top right, it is adjacent to a major 4-lane highway that runs between Athens and Atlanta. So I thought we were going to have a lot of visibility, but they decided, no, we're not going to cut down the trees next to the road. So foiled again, I guess. But I think, in my opinion, it's advantageous to locate your arrays in the communities where you serve. Although the array might not be next door to a customer, chances are, if it's in the community, they're going to know where it is. I think that just makes it seem more real to them, and I think it generates excitement for the program, and makes them more enthused about it. So first project, 1 megawatt. It came online July 2015. There were 750 blocks available. Those blocks were subscribed by 433 members, and the project was sold out before we even got it online or got it completed. It was actually fully subscribed, I think, in about 5 business days. So we didn't know what to expect, but we were very delighted when it happened. So that prompted a second project. The second project is about 6 miles from our office. It is a 2.5 megawatt project, about 15 acres worth of panels. The entire site is about 40 acres. It came online in May 2016. 2.5 megawatt was 1,875 blocks available. That was subscribed to by 1,110 members. It was also sold out before it came online. So that just naturally lent itself to the next project, which we are just getting started on. It's going to be a 3 megawatt project about 4 miles from our office. We would have liked to have gotten this project online sooner. I'm hoping that hasn't hurt our momentum a little bit. We had trouble. We made negotiations, got the land under contract, but then we had some trouble getting the land closed. There were some abnormalities with the titles, and it just took a lot longer than we'd like to have. We had hoped to have this project producing probably 3 or 4 months ago, but we're just now getting started on it. So we'll see what that's done to our enthusiasm and momentum that we had with the other 2. But we're projecting it to be online by November 2017. It's going to be 3 megawatt, 2,250 blocks. So far, we have 579 blocks subscribed to from 351 members. But we really haven't promoted our solar program since we completed our second project. So we're about to get underway. We're going to ramp that up again, let our members know that solar is available again, and hopefully that we can get them back subscribed into the project. Right now we're residential only. We have not done any commercial. We may allow commercial accounts and members to participate, just depending on how I guess our subscriptions go from residential members. Well, I'm a communicator and marketer, so I'll talk about my main part of all this, and in the PR plan and how we got the word out and what happened. But we thought it was really important to brand our program and let it have its own logo. So we worked with our graphic designers to integrate our main logo in with our cooperative solar program, and I think they did a great job. We really like this logo. So that's been used on all our cooperative solar materials and promotion, of course. we began talking about solar energy months before we announced that we were going to do a project. I think that's really important to sort of prime the pump and to begin to generate some interest and excitement in solar energy. And what we did, 6 months to a year out before we announced our project, we started doing education pieces on just basically first solar electricity. How do you generate solar electricity? How does it work? How does it go on the grid? Then we followed up. We started talking about community solar programs and let them know that even though you might not have a rooftop or land, that you could still participate in solar energy production. And what's interesting about this piece was it ran several months before we got the announcement out. But I had people emailing me saying, hey, I really wish this was something that y'all would look into, a community solar program. I would love to participate. Of course, I wanted to tell them, oh, well, it's coming, but that was a little premature. But that was exciting to see the demand for it even before we announced the program. So when we were ready to get our program rolled out, we made the announcement. We told them that sign-ups would be available in a couple of months. We really started promoting the program and telling them that, availability is going to be limited. Make sure that when the sign-up is open that you do it quickly. A little bit about our solar program and how it looks and works. So when sign-ups were open, then we rolled out the announcement of that, and that's when the response was great, and we were very delighted. And like I said, in about 5 business days, we were fully subscribed. When the site went live, we let people know about that, kept them up on the progress as we went along. We also installed a time-lapse camera during construction, and we put that video out. We put Facebook posts out, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But we put out a lot of materials, just keeping them up to date on the progress and letting them continue to be interested in the program. Here's the announcement then. After our first one sold out and we acquired the land, we announced our second project. And you can see that before it got started, even when we announced it, we already had those 1,500 blocks taken up and giving them a sense of urgency to sign up. Of course, another part of our plan was media outreach. And at that time, we were very lucky because we were going to do the largest community solar project east of the Mississippi. So that was our hook, or that was our unique factor for our project. So I encourage you to look around and find out what's unique or interesting about your particular project and use that in your media relations and your outreach and try to generate that interest. We were able to get Atlanta TV to come out. That was a big help. We got print and radio exposure. Of course, we integrated all this into our social media program. We changed our cover photo on our Facebook page to Cooperative Solar. We kept them up to date on what was going on, videos and photos. During the installation, we let them know what was going on. We did do a paper brochure for people who wanted that format. Our solar program is prominently featured right on the front of our website with our Solar Made Easy tagline. They go to a page that talks all about the program and advantages and how it works. And we also have a dashboard that we built, and you can see what the entire facility is doing at any moment. And we also decided that we would have it in 1 and 2 block increments, which most people would probably have, and so they wouldn't have to do the math to see what their block was doing for the day. We got out to community events, promoted the solar program, try to generate word of mouth. We came up with these yard signs that any member that's on the solar program can have for free. So hopefully they're proud that they're receiving some of our power from cooperative solar, they'll put that out in their neighborhood, put that out in their yard, become the envy of all their neighbors. We've done a lot of facility tours. A lot of local interest has been generated in groups want to come out to see the project. So any group that wants to come out, we do a short presentation, and then we take them out actually to the facility and let them look around and ask questions and see. So what are the results? And we projected at the beginning of our program that the typical member would receive 180 to 260 kilowatt hours per month of solar energy per block, depending on what the weather was like. And you can see here, this is a year, May 2016 to May 2017. You can see the individual monthly totals, and you can see the average for that time was 236 kilowatt hours per month on average. Our normal residential rate is about 10 cents, and at this level, 236 kilowatt hours on an average month, the solar is working out to about 10.6, 10.7 cents a kilowatt hour. So even though it's a little more expensive, it's not a lot more expensive, and it's really a bargain. So total blocks, we've got 2,625 online at the moment. We'll have 2,250 more when the next project 3, comes online. We have 1,564 active subscribers, 351 on the waiting list. Hopefully that waiting list is going to grow here shortly. I took a look back at people who dropped out, and these are people who dropped out just because they didn't like the program or for some reason similar. These are not people who moved away and could no longer participate in the program. So we've had about 150 to drop out, so that gives us a retention of about 91% of the people who signed up. The Southern Environmental Law Center featured us in a video that does a great job of showing and explaining our program, and you can see that if you go to solar.storage/Greg-Brooks, and it's worth your time, about 3 or 4 minutes. It features one of our members who participates, so they really did a great job on this video. So I appreciate your attention today, and thank you for joining the webinar. And if you have any questions or have any comments or want to know anything more, you can reach me at my email address, gbrooks@waltonemc.com. So thanks a lot.
And thanks, Greg. That was great. Amazing to hear about the amount of interest that you guys gotten, and good to hear that the first project convinced you guys to pursue project number 2 and number 3, and we wish you best of luck with project 3. Hopefully the rest of it goes smoothly. I also like that logo a lot. Pretty neat. Being in the solar world for many years, you tend to see a lot of variations on various themes, but that's the first time I've seen an electrical plug going into the sun. I really like that. All right, well, up next we have John Jacob of Blue Ridge Energy. Take it away, John.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Is everybody seeing the presented view and not my presenter view? I got 2 screens. I want to make sure everybody's looking at the right one.
We see the presenter view.
Okay, let me swap. How about now?
That's it.
Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot, Brian. I'm John Jacob. I'm the Energy Solutions Marketing Manager with Blue Ridge Energy, and quite a different story than Walden. I attended a lot of webinars while Greg and Walden were kind of building out their solar program, and learned a lot from what they were doing. We're much smaller, and we're a rural cooperative. Don't really have a suburban market that we serve. Some other differences, we actually have the ability to help our members save money on their bills with the solar program we've rolled out, and we had a lot more difficult time fighting than Greg did next to his headquarters there. But on the flip side, there's a lot of similarities, and some are intentional. We also wanted a program with very low or no upfront cost to our members, and we wanted to make it easy for them to come in and out of the program, so there are no contracts. And something I directly stole from Walden was the phone-only signups. Anybody who wanted to sign up for our program had to speak with myself or 2 other people here who kind of walked them through how everything worked. So this is our service territory. We touch 6 different counties in northwestern North Carolina, and we are up the mountain some, so the solar resource might be a little diminished from what you get down the mountain. But strangely enough, there in Ashe County, which is pretty far up the mountain, has had the best solar production of the 4 arrays that we built. So we did not do this by ourselves like Walden did. We actually were engaged in a partnership with North Carolina's Electric Membership Corporation, so the Cooperative of Cooperatives. They have basically done 18 different community solar arrays in partnership with 11 different co-ops. It's totaled out to around 2 megawatts. And you can see our 4 are the blue dots in the upper left-hand corner of North Carolina. And Ocracoke actually just finished building a microgrid, which is pretty cool. And that's the blue star all the way out on the Outer Banks. So I'd like to give a shout out to Rick Schroeder and Jim Musilek, who are our points of contact with NCEMC. And if you're a North Carolina cooperative that wants to look at this a little deeper, get some more information, please ping me and put my contact information in the slide deck, and I'd be happy to share with anyone and get you in touch with those guys. So that also meant we were not only in partnership with NCEMC, but also with a group called NRCO, who is the National Renewable Cooperative Organization. And you can see here they've done pretty much exclusively on the eastern side of the country. You see a little bit in Kansas and Oklahoma, but they served as a consultant and kind of a project manager. And so they had already worked with Hanna Solar and RBI Solar, and that's who we ended up working with as far as the construction of our sites. So I think Greg's comment was, you know, solar made easy. For us, it was solar made simple. The upfront expense is really important. We're not a very affluent area, and we'd heard from a lot of our members that they wanted solar, but putting down $15,000, $20,000 for a rooftop array was going to be prohibitive for a lot of people. And then you had a good number of our folks are renters, or you know, the roof may have been shaded, not well oriented. It might have been due for replacement soon. So community solar was a great way to give our members who were interested and wanted renewable energy access to it. The subscription model we've decided on is a little different than the block model. We just directly subscribe panels on a monthly basis at $4.50 per panel. The way it works out is we offer both a net billing and a net metering option. With the net metering option, there is some potential for savings. If you use more than 1,000 kilowatt hours in an average month, the community solar net metering option can actually help lower your bill. For lower users or people who have second homes, we also offer a net billing option that does not have the potential savings, but it also adds less increased fixed costs. And so a lot of our members, I would say the majority of the people who actually signed up for our program probably were motivated by economics more so than the environment. But there were a lot of our membership up in Watauga County around Appalachian State University who are very environmentally motivated. And so for them, we did some calculations, determined what type of carbon offset each panel produced, and figured out that only 3 panels offsets more than a ton of CO2 emissions annually. And so we've built that into the story that we tell our members. So I was going to show a video. It didn't work quite too well on the webinar, so we're going to go through some pictures. We had some challenges with the site selection that I kind of alluded to. What we're looking at here is a place called Patterson School. It's out in Happy Valley. And the Caldwell County STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math program is centered out here. So it was a really great spot for a solar array. This tennis court that looks really run down is actually where we ended up placing the solar array. And for baseball fans, Madison Bumgarner raises Black Angus cattle on the other side of the road here where my cursor is. So we originally were going to site this on that side of the road where he raises cattle, ran into some issues with conservation easements and as well as floodplain issues. So the siting proved to be much more difficult than we'd anticipated, and we spent a good 6 months because we were looking for more than just one site. It was really important that we have a solar array in each of the counties that we serve. So siting is something that was very challenging for us. Here's another of our sites. This is up in Vilas, North Carolina, next to our Sherwood substation. Not a great solar resource right here on a foggy summer morning, but the next thing we were up against was geotesting or push-pull testing, and RBI Solar handled that for us, as well as the pile driving. So this is some of that testing going on, and it was not a real. It tested out okay in the end, but we did have some challenges of rocky soil. So that added another, element of challenge to the siting process. Get rid of that, sorry. And here is our Allegheny site, which is the only site we were able to locate on Blue Ridge property. So this is at our district office in Allegheny County in Sparta, North Carolina. And you can see they've already pile driven the rows to put up the racking for the panels. So at the end of the day, what we ended up with were 4 solar gardens, totaling out just under 0.4 megawatts in size, 384 kilowatts. It was 1,472 panels, 325 watt panels. Each array had 368 panels, and it was sized specifically at 96 kW for a very important reason. Below 100 kilowatts, we were allowed to build and interconnect all these arrays without any type of agreement or formal contract with our wholesale power provider. So that's another reason, in addition to breaking them up and putting a garden in each of our counties served so that our members could see them, we were able to do that without a lot of hassle by keeping them smaller. So this is the finished product for us. Here's our the one we just looked at the construction of in Allegheny County. Then we have a really pretty site behind a former Sara Lee bread plant in Jefferson, North Carolina, with Mount Jefferson in the background. This is the Sherwood substation site, which is a great spot as far as interconnection next to our sub. And finally, the first one we looked at, Patterson School site, which is great. We've done some school visits and taken some kids out there and really enjoyed showing them not just the solar panels, but we used a drone to capture this image and a lot of video for marketing purposes, and the kids really enjoy seeing the drone fly over the panels too. So I'm going to talk through some of our program details. Our PPA, we are not necessarily the owner of the arrays. We purchase the power in a power purchase agreement, which is a 20-year term with a 5-year option to extend. I think I said 3 of these sites are leased and only 1 of them is owned by Blue Ridge. The capacity factor during our peak demand, and this is something I'm going to talk a lot about later, but our arrays are intentionally faced west-southwest, with the idea being we want to reduce our peak demand as much as possible during summer afternoon hours, so that the array isn't just something that offers clean renewable energy to our members. It's something that benefits every single member by lowering our power cost. What we do with the generation is we totalize the generation from all sites and give everybody who subscribed a pro rata share of that generation per panel. That means that if somebody subscribed and they're up in Allegheny and that site is outperforming the site in Ashe County, that nobody gets a better deal based on where they're located. This kind of keeps it even Steven for everybody who's a subscriber. We do have both net metering and net billing rates. The majority of people who signed up are on the net metering rate, which is an unbundled rate and carries a higher fixed cost than our standard residential rate. However, the benefit is instead of paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour as they would on our standard residential rate, members on the net metering solar rate pay only 7 cents per kilowatt hour consumed, and they receive 7 cents for every kilowatt hour generated by their panel. So the panel subscription is $4.50 a month. What we told people when we were subscribing was that the average generation would be around 36 kilowatt hours a month. I think it's actually been above that, but we definitely, in telling the story, wanted to make sure they knew there was going to be seasonal differences. And we actually finished construction right after Thanksgiving of 2016. So the first month people were actually receiving a credit was on their January bill, and that was obviously one of the lowest productions they're going to see. So it's just done nothing but improve. So I think that worked out well for us. Okay, so the advantages. every single member, residential member, I should say, can participate in this program. Whether they rent, whether they own, what their state of the roof is, mobile homes, stick-built, everybody had access to solar through our community solar program. And there was no upfront cost. It was just a subscription, monthly subscription they could come in and out of. It makes it really easy if people move, if somebody passes away, if somebody changes their mind. We don't have to, figure out the devalued value of a solar panel 10 years into, a contract where somebody's paid up front for that panel. The orientation was huge for us, facing it west-southwest. The ability to reduce our peak demand really has a huge benefit in lowering our power costs, and so that means that all Blue Ridge members really see a benefit from this community solar program, even if they're not a subscriber. Challenges, as Greg pointed out, having to speak with everybody who wants to sign up for this program, is a tall order. We only had 3 people who were really doing the signups. And so it took us a while to get near fully subscribed, and we're almost there, very close to 90%. I'll show some more precise figures in a moment. But explaining the net metering and net billing rate options to members, calculating their average monthly usage, figuring out which rate was the best option for them, that's really a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation most of the time. So we did spend a lot of time with our members educating them. And at the end of the day, most subscribers opted for just 1 or 2 panels. So, selling 1,500 panels 1 or 2 at a time has taken a lot of work. The only other challenge I wanted to mention is that one of our counties enacted a solar amendment to the zoning ordinance in the midst of our project planning. And so we actually ended up supporting the addition of this solar amendment to the zoning ordinance. I went and spoke at the county commissioners meeting, revealing that we were building a solar array in the county, and saying that we were supportive of this new addition to the zoning ordinance, which actually added a lot of work in terms of compliance to get our conditional use permit. But what I learned was working with the county, and specifically the county planner, really helped our relationship, mine and hers. And so when it came time to get the conditional use permit, she really acted as a shepherd for our project and helped it get through the process a lot quicker. So developing a good, close relationship with the counties you're building in, we learned has a lot of value, and that's something I'd strongly encourage. So I wanted to talk a lot about peak demand because our arrays are really focused on reducing our peak demand during 20 summer hours. So that's how our wholesale power contract works. Wholesale power provider tells us which 20 peak hours during the summer we're on their system, and then looks at the demand on our system and charges us accordingly. So if we're able to reduce our peak demand during summer afternoons between 2 and 6 p.m., we can really save a lot of money. So this is looking at the last 5 years, the top 100 peak hours since 2012. And you can see they're heavily concentrated in that 2 to 6 p.m. band, but even more specifically between 3 and 5 p.m. when people get home from work, turn on the air conditioning, and it's usually the hottest part of the day. So that aligns really well with that west-southwest facing of our array. This is what a perfect day looks like to us. In a typical day, you'll see a lot of spikes due to cloud cover coming and going. But here, this top part that's perfectly flat, that's actually inverter clipping off production right at 96 kW. So this is the maximum amount of power we can produce, and it's peaking right from 1:30 all the way till about 4:30, 5 o'clock. And that really has a huge benefit to all of our members. So the software we're using to do both real-time and more detailed monthly and yearly monitoring is available to our members on our website. We built a portal allowing them to see each individual array's real-time production as well as production since inception, and the amount of CO2 that's been avoided since inception, the total amount of energy generated, showing them the different amounts during the time of day. And we think having that information really builds their involvement and engagement with the project, especially as a subscriber. We did get some good press coverage, and that was really nice. It helped us build the word and drive a lot of interest before the panels became available. and we were doing what Walden was doing. We were taking the drone footage, photos, construction footage, and putting that up on our website, and actually built a list of pre-interested members and doing email blasts to them, telling them where we were in the project, how things were going, and that was really helpful in starting strong. We didn't subscribe out in 5 days. I mean, to be honest with you, it's been a slog. So we had about 400 people after we finished construction in Thanksgiving of 2016. These are the pre-interested people. These are the people who've been, you know, keeping up with all the social media and the website posts. Those were easy sells. They were ready to go. We had their names, their numbers. We called them, had that conversation, signed them up, and that worked great. And then you see the declining progress or, you know, momentum as we go forward. And finally, it kind of hit this nadir in April, and we're like, we think we've got most of the people who knew about this. You know, how can we go about this a different way? And we went about it a very old-fashioned way. I wrote an SQL query that identified the members who would actually save money on our net metering rate. I looked at who was going to save at least $100 a year. I basically created a mail merge letter, sent it out to 300 people at a time, and said, hey, community solar will save you money. If you're interested, call me, Jason, or Susan directly. And that worked great. And so we've been sending out a letter or two every 2 weeks, 1 or 2 rounds of 300 people every 2 weeks to kind of keep it manageable as it comes in, the interest rolls back in. And now we are up to, as of this morning, 88% subscribed. So 1,295 of the 1,472 panels have been subscribed in 8 months. Over 532 members now are participating. The average member is taking about 2.5 panels or 2.4 panels. And so now that we're kind of getting to that fully subscribed point, we are doing a couple things. We're sending thank you notes to everybody who's participating, and that's going to include a window cling that we produced that says, you know, my house is powered in part by community solar. Window clings are designed for an automobile. We thought we'd get more views that way, and so that'll be going out with a thank you note. And then I think we had a pretty cool social media campaign to continue to build awareness and hopefully build a queue for more solar development in the future. And so what we asked our members to do in that thank you letter is if they wanted a free community solar t-shirt, and looks like the one here, we asked them to shoot a short video, a selfie on their camera phone, and tell us why they signed up for community solar. And we asked them to post that video to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter with the hashtag #SoldOnSolar and tag @BlueRidgeEnergy. And we'll monitor those social media channels. And it also gives us a great marketing tool going forward of our members telling us, you know, why they did this, why they like this. And hopefully, you know, we can use those messages, those videos to drive interest for another project. So in conclusion, I've got a quote from Seneca, and I think, you know, the most important part of the planning process is really knowing what the purpose of the project is. You know, if you're out to maximize kilowatt hours that most solar developers are looking to do to keep the PPA price as low as possible, that's great. But for us, it was a little different. We were really focused on reducing peak demand, and the kilowatt hours were kind of ancillary to that purpose. We needed this to benefit all members. So you got to know where you're going in order to get there. And I'm really happy and proud of the work that my co-op's done with our community solar project.
All right, thanks, John. That's great. Interesting to hear your experience with community solar just after hearing Greg's experience. There are some obvious similarities, but also some different approaches you guys have taken. Pretty interesting. I also like that very direct marketing you did, mailing directly to people that you thought stood to benefit the most from it. That's great. All right, so next we'll hear from Isaac Ponzarella about the work that he's done with Fayetteville Public Works Commission. Thank you, Isaac. You there, Isaac?
Yep, I'm here, Brian. Sorry, we just had to take ourselves off mute. So it's a pleasure to be here today on this webinar. I'm going to talk about some technical assistance that the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center has been providing to the Fayetteville Public Works Commission on a community solar project that is about to go out for bids. Just a little bit about Fayetteville Public Works Commission. Fayetteville Public Works Commission is a municipal utility located in Fayetteville, North Carolina. They're the largest municipal utility in the state of North Carolina, and that they're the 36th largest municipal utility in the country. So very, they serve a lot of customers, over 80,000 customers, and they have a great interest in developing community solar for a number of reasons that I'll get into. I'll talk a little bit today about the objectives and benefits that Fayetteville PWC wanted to achieve in this project, some customer outreach and education that they recognize as being very important to the success of this project, the technical and economic modeling that the Clean Tech Center did for the project in cooperation with PWC, as well as next steps based on where this project is at. There are three pretty straightforward objectives with the project at PWC. One was to comply with North Carolina's REPS, or Renewables and Efficiency Portfolio Standard. As many utilities in the state are required, Fayetteville has to procure a certain percentage of energy from renewable sources. To this date, they have been purchasing renewable energy credits, and the preference was to develop their own renewable energy resource to be able to generate renewable energy credits themselves. Objective number two was to respond to customer demand for solar through this community solar program. There have been a lot of requests for customers to develop solar, and Fayetteville felt like this was a really great way to do it as a kind of shared project and share benefits all around. Kind of like in many of the other projects you heard about today, the first cost is relatively high for a homeowner, and so this provides a very economic way for people of all incomes to participate. Finally, Fayetteville wanted to balance sustainability and using renewable energy with good economics for their customers. They didn't want to have solar be a technology that was a negative or increased cost. Basically, they felt this was the best way to do this in a way that doesn't increase costs for all of the customers. Here's how the value of community solar works in general, and specifically to Fayetteville's case too. You have a community solar project. Fayetteville PWC is in a position where it can invest in the project and operate the project over its lifetime. Customer subscribers in this model will basically make monthly subscription payments. The solar project, as it produces, puts out value through the solar and storage components. Customer subscribers receive a credit on their bill based on part of that value minus the operations expense. And finally, the end result is over the life of the project, the Fayetteville PWC will be able to meet customer expectations in terms of using renewable energy, and also be seen as a sustainability leader among utilities. This project is a very complex project and requires a lot of stakeholders at both the PWC and technical staff here from the Clean Energy Technology Center. I was the technical project manager along with Tommy Cleveland, and I'll talk a little bit about the work that we did on the analysis. But of course, as you can see, there's regulatory folks involved in looking at compliance with the REPS, people looking at community outreach and communications, and then finally, the engineering side of the PWC is very important in terms of looking at how this would incorporate into their system, and as well as the economics of the project. I'm going to start out talking about communication strategy. A good starting point for looking at communication strategy is this set of guidelines from the Solar Electric Power Association. One is to have a unified image and message. So you want to clearly define the program, make it very clear to people, and then you saw examples of that clear messaging from both Walton and Blue Ridge. Then you want to determine your target audience. You have to understand, who your constituents are, and do some research. And I'll talk about a survey that we did of the audience in Fayetteville. Finally, you want to work with others, such as local organizations. One in Fayetteville, very active, is Sustainable Sandhills. They're a great way to promote the project to their members. Finally, there's additional channels. There's sharing the message at conferences, but also, local media. So very early on in the process, PwC conducted a survey of about 1,500, and with about 1,500 of their customers responding. One of the first questions was whether or not the customer was familiar with community solar. At that point, 70% were unfamiliar. But following a brief explanation of what community solar is and how they could participate, 90% of the survey participants said they'd be interested in community solar for themselves. We gave them a choice of appealing aspects of community solar. Number one was that they would be able to save money on their utility bill. Number two was that they would be able to help reduce their utilities' cost of operations. And finally, they would be able to utilize clean energy. But you see all those had pretty high rankings from all participants. We asked about how much people would pay per credit. And about 1,500 responses indicated they would pay $4 to $12 per month. At the end of the survey, there was a question about who wanted to be sent additional information, and about half the participants said they would like to receive additional information about the program once it was designed. So in the end, I think the lesson of this survey was that education is going to be very important to making sure that there's a successful program, and that education would be achieved through the messaging on the website and in other forums. The main part of what the NC Clean Energy Technology Center team did for Fayetteville PwC was to do a solar and storage technical analysis. And in this analysis, which was a cost-benefit analysis optimization of various, first of all, sizing of the PV and energy storage, configurations, and development models, we basically did a multi-year hourly model of PV plus battery configurations. We looked at various configurations, including fixed tilt or tracking arrays. We also looked at various development models, including owned by FPWC or perhaps owned by a third party with a power purchase agreement. In the hourly model, we looked at things such as the battery capacity relative to the PV capacity, the sizing of relative sizing of those, how many hours of battery storage that might be desired and economical, and then finally PV design. That includes the selection of the panels, the tracking, and inverter configurations. Battery control is another feature we looked at. It's to basically how to control the battery. The battery would be charged from solar energy and be able to produce its output at certain times. Those were kind of the key things that we looked at in terms of battery control. This analysis took hourly data from Fayetteville PwC's historical records dating from 2016 to 2014, compared those to the hourly demand seen on the grid in North Carolina. That's Duke Energy is Fayetteville PwC's utility supplier, and then this demand basically drives cost. So that was a key component. We also looked at the hourly temperatures during those times. All of this, really again was put together in order to optimize the cost and benefit and come up with an optimal configuration. So the configuration going forward. Oops. Sorry, I don't know why that wouldn't. Don't know why that wouldn't advance. The configuration going forward, out of the cost-benefit analysis, is a 1 megawatt AC solar PV array plus a 500 kW lithium-ion battery bank with 2 hours of storage. And as you can see, both of those are configured so that in total, you could have up to 1.5 megawatts of solar energy going onto the grid from both the PV and the battery combined. This chart, I think, shows well the value produced by the system, and this is over 12 months, a typical 12-month period. In the blue, on the bottom, you have the value of the battery output based on the reduced demand. In the orange, you have the value of the PV energy. That's all the kilowatt hours based on the rate that PwC purchases energy at. In the gray, you have the value of the peak reduction from the PV, and you can see how that really changes throughout the year. Obviously, in January, there's the lowest production, and then in the May-June timeframe, it's at the highest production. Just one thing: the configuration of the panel, the mounting of the panel, is going to be on tracking, one-axis tracking units. So that's why you do see some pretty good outputs, even though throughout the year, even though there are fluctuations. Finally, the last value is the renewable energy credits. That's a pretty small component. This pie chart shows that a little better. About 1.4% of the value produced by this system comes in the form of renewable energy credits, while the rest of it comes from 58% from the battery and 40% from the battery and 58% from the solar PV. The next thing that the team helped Fayetteville PwC look at was different project or program design options. These are different ways of configuring community solar projects involving either things such as, in the first case, a 20-year flat $5 monthly subscription, or versus a purchase model in the second column. The third was a PV-only community solar, no battery. We also looked at PV plus storage under a PPA, where there would be a third party, and then finally looked at a partnership flip subscription. That last model basically looks at how a developer could work with PwC to monetize tax credits and the impact of that. In the end, Fayetteville ended up going with the base case, which was actually 25-year monthly subscription. And in this case, since Fayetteville's a not-for-profit municipal utility, there are no tax credits being considered in the cost of the project or in the economics of the project. Even without that, though, it turns out to be a pretty good deal for everybody. This is the basic program design for the project. It's going to be set up for a flat monthly subscription fee that's going to range from $4 to $5, and that's going to basically depend on the final cost of the project. One share is going to be equal to about one panel, or about 400 watts. Subscribers are going to receive, again, the net benefits of the solar and the battery after the operating costs as a monthly bill credit. The goal here is for Fayetteville PwC to break even on the project after taking into consideration the the operating, the capital costs, the operating costs, and then the credits that are paid out. So based on our model, we see from the outset, given the conditions that we expect, pretty good return for customers. You see in the orange on this chart the credit, the monthly credit, which is this is a $5 monthly credit, and then the gray you could I'm sorry, the orange is a subscription fee, and the gray that goes above the orange is really the bill credit that customers would potentially get back. So you can see that as time goes by, the credit increases. And the reason for that is because in the early part of the project, say for the first 12 years, you're saving money to pay for future battery and inverter replacements. And once those replacements are done, you can start, PwC is able to start giving more credit to subscribers as they come along. So in a nutshell, I'm going to just wrap up here with this slide here. Fayetteville was able to achieve benefits of community solar plus storage. They are going to get some pretty good REPS compliance from this system. We've proven that there is a feasible means here to invest in renewable energy while allowing customers individual choice and still getting community-wide benefit. Reducing monthly coincident peak demand is a really key part of this project. And finally, this is, I think, a win-win for many customers because they get to affordably participate in solar without investing a lot of upfront money in their own systems. Next steps are going to be for PwC to release an RFQ and then select a qualified design build partner. Finally, they'll complete EPC and commissioning. The last bullet here is customer outreach, but in fact, customer outreach is going on now and will be going on over the next during the construction of the project. And finally, I guess there's one more thing here. The site, this is just the site location. It happens to be located at an existing power plant that PwC operates. It's the Butler Warner generation plant. So this is a great place to site this system because it's at a good point to connect to the grid, and as well it's going to be a place where there's ready staff there to operate and monitor the system. Okay. Brian, I'm going to give it back to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Isaac. And a big thanks to our other speakers today, Greg and John. Thank you guys so much. So some next steps for our project here. After this call, we'll be sending you a questionnaire. And we ask you to take just a few minutes to complete it. It will help us gauge where the knowledge gaps are and develop a game plan to address these issues. Then, based on the responses we receive, we will organize a series of working groups to fill those gaps. If you would like to take part in our working groups or would like to know more about our project and the types of services we will provide in the coming years, please reach out to us at communitysolar@ncsu.edu, and be sure to check out our website, nccleantech.ncsu.edu/community-solar. So Ashut and Isaac, did you guys have any questions come through from the audience?
Hi, this is Ashut Shrestha with Isaac. Yeah, we have a lot of questions in. I don't know if we'll have time to go through all of them, but we'll definitely send these questions along to people and have them answered by a panelist and reply to those emails. This one, maybe we could go through a couple of questions here while we have time. John, are you still there? John, Jacob?
You might have to
unmute.
unmuted.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Here I am.
So John, you have a question here. So the question is, why does subscribing to just one panel change a member's entire rate structure? It seems like it opens your community solar being abused by high energy users as a way to get a lower rate. And this might be a little, I don't know if you have time to go over this question or not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I think it's not a vehicle, you know, for high energy users to escape paying their fair share. The unbundled rate that our net metering increases their fixed cost significantly. So while they do receive a lower per kilowatt hour cost for energy, their fixed cost, they have a distribution charge, is equitable, more equitable than it would be on a standard residential rate. So we did a lot of looking at that, and we wanted to encourage participation as well. And we wanted to treat everyone fairly, because really, if somebody wanted the same benefit, they could put up one solar panel on their home and do the same thing. So we definitely wanted to treat our community solar members no different than somebody who put it on their rooftop. We didn't want to favor one over the other.
Thanks, John. There's quite a lot of questions here. Maybe I could ask one question to Greg. Greg, are you still here? Greg?
Yes.
So we have a couple questions here. One question that first came up a while ago was, what level of environmental due diligence is needed in Georgia prior to construction?
Yeah, that's probably a question that we're going to have to refer to our construction people. I know that we have permits and so forth that we had to get and go through, but yeah, that's really not my area of expertise. So I will be glad to get that question answered if you'll send it to me.
Great. You have another question, and it talks about, you kind of mentioned about people dropping off. So from your program, so the question is, do you have any feedback from people who dropped out of the program? Were they disappointed not to see greater savings, or alternatively, did some of the people who like it so much that they installed their own solar arrays?
I think what happened is even though they had to call and talk to us and we had to explain the program, I think a lot of them still thought they were going to see a big savings on their bill. So I think that's the main reason for a lot of them that dropped out. We did have a challenge too with getting some of our employees to actually understand the program, and we were horrified because we understood that some of our customer care reps were telling folks that it was going to be an extra $25 on their bill. Well, it is a $25 charge, but you're getting something in return. So when you net it all out, it was, you know, a $1 or $2 increase. So we did have some education challenges with our employees as well.
I want to concur with Greg on that. The challenge to create the understanding necessary to speak about the rate and how the bill is going to look on community solar was something that we just couldn't get to with the majority of our customer service reps. So ended up being handled by like the energy services or powerful solutions department. And then on the dropout piece, you know, we've had less than 10 people drop out, so very similar to Walden's in the number of people or percentage. But the people who did drop out, we would speak with on a monthly basis when they would call and look at the bill and say, well, where's my savings? And even when you show it to them, you know, line by line and do the math with them on a month-to-month basis, having a bill that's kind of similar to being billed for a hot dog where you get billed for the bun, the, you know, mustard, the onions separately, they just were not willing to do the math. So even though they were saving, you know, $10, $20, $30 a month in some cases, they still chose to drop out of the program, which is a head scratcher, but, you know, it's human behavior.
Thanks, John and Greg. I have a question here for Isaac. So the question is, how can interested parties participate in Fayetteville solicitation process?
Well, it should basically, you know, before the end of this month, I think Fayetteville PwC will be releasing an RFQ for qualified design build contractors. That RFQ will be posted on their website and advertised. in newspaper. You could also send us an email, and we'll add you to a list of folks that we're communicating to about the RFQ.
Thanks, Isaac. I think that's all the time we have for questions right now. There's still a lot of questions coming in, but we'd be happy to send answers via email, communicate with you via email. Please, the recording for this webinar and the slides will be made available on our website, and I can send a follow-up email to all the participants. Please take your time to respond to the questionnaire that I'll be sending out in a couple of hours today. I think that's all we have right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Greg and John, for your time and sharing your experiences with community solar in your with your utilities. Saying that, I think we could just conclude this webinar now. Well, thank you so much.